Hey everyone, my name's Ryan Sheldon. I am a body image eating disorder advocate, body acceptance advocate, and eating disorder advocate, as well as a NEDA Ambassador. Thank you all for taking the time to sit with me and Justin Andrew Davis. A quick background on Justin Andrew Davis. He's an actor, writer, and filmmaker based in New York City. Recently, Justin's first feature film, Myth, was released on Amazon Prime. Oh, that's awesome. And his You Look Great, a short film that Justin wrote, directed, and starred in based on his personal experiences with eating disorders, has played at numerous festivals in New York City and across the country. The film has earned him several prestigious awards, in addition to his film work, creative writing, the New School, and served as an apprentice at the Barrow Group Theater Company. Welcome, Justin. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me. I'm good. It's good to see you. It's been a little while.
I know, I
Um,
feel like it's been like 2 years, yeah.
well, yeah, I mean, or more. For those who don't know, when I was crowdfunding for You Look Great, I interviewed Ryan as a part of our daily series about people talking about eating disorder issues, body image issues, food and exercise issues.
And here we are, like a couple years later. Cool. So I just to give everybody context about what this conversation is going to be about, it's going to be about really men with eating disorders and how they're perceived and stigmas that are associated with them. And a lot of this is going to be from Justin's experience. So let's begin, I guess. So question number one, what drove you to make a film about your personal experience with an eating disorder?
So by the time I had started writing and developing the idea, I had been dealing with my eating disorders probably in a significant way for about 10 years. It's something that, was a daily struggle, and you could probably even say like hourly struggle. It's something that was always on my mind. And, like my immediate family sort of knew about these struggles and behaviors and, close friends. And I found that the more I opened up and talk about it, that the more universal these sort of insecurities and issues were. And because I was, living these experiences, I had such a big knowledge about it. And so I was inspired to present this story, not because I just knew so much about it, but also because I think there was something in me that thought it would keep me accountable. Like, it's sort of like I am saying, I have this issue. I am going to take steps to taking care of myself. And in the same time, I want to share my journey and my struggle so that maybe someone else might be inspired to seek help themselves, that it's okay to say, I need help.
Yeah, I totally relate to that. I mean, that's why I started my advocacy work because when I was diagnosed and I went to Google and I typed in men with eating disorders, there was like nothing out there at the time. So that's what triggered me to start, my blog and my Instagram account. But I guess on the flip side, it's like, did you find it to be triggering when you were creating the film and writing the film and acting in it, that like it was triggering and bringing up thoughts of some of your history with an eating disorder?
Um, so by the time that I was shooting the film, um, I had been in therapy, and this is stuff that I had addressed. And I think there's something in my brain where I felt safe to explore these things because I spent so much time hiding them, and now sort of that pressure to hide them was off. I am with people who understand. I am with people who are supportive. I am in a safe, creatively exploratory environment.
Hmm.
And it was really important to me to show my behaviors, which can be explicit in the film, just so that somebody who might not have the same lived experience could really get an idea of how hurtful or consuming they can be.
Totally. I mean, listen, like, 30 million Americans will struggle or are currently struggling with an eating disorder. And 10%, no, 10 million of those are men. So that's one third. So that is a huge number, and I also think
that
it's
are
severely
reported, right?
reported. Yeah, I believe it's severely underrepresented because of the shame and the stigma that's associated with men and eating disorders. So that brings up the question: why do you think that there are so many stigmas associated with men and eating disorders?
I think when you present this struggle as a man, I think it comes with a perception of femininity. Like this is historically an issue that is, associated with women, and I think it might convey weakness. It might convey vanity. I think there's also this sort of weird struggle where I think there's this preconceived notion that, like, oh, you're a man, you don't have to worry about this. People don't care.
Agreed.
There are other
Yep.
things that people look to in men as positive, strong qualities. And so that makes me feel like, oh, I shouldn't have these feelings, so therefore I can't talk about them. Um, and also,
Uh,
and I also think there was part of that, a very small part of me where, because it is such an issue that has been associated with women, and women have been subjugated to, very harsh standards and ideals in media, that there was a small second where I wondered whether or not I was entitled to share my experience.
Interesting. Can you go into that a little bit?
Um, yeah, sure. It's just that, it's sort of like you're a straight white man who doesn't is of average build, and here you are discussing a topic that women have a much bigger stake in, who there's much more prevalent standards and policing and media that is just what's the word I'm looking for? It's very confining. It's just very oppressive. Like I don't see as much, where men are like where men have a very specific set of standards to achieve, unless you're looking at maybe fitness magazines or something.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that rings true to me, everything that you've said. It took me so long to get diagnosed with an eating disorder, and I genuinely believe that's because, I'm a guy, and guys aren't supposed to get eating disorders because, people don't even realize what eating disorders are. So I think the key to this and to solving this is A, talking about it like we're doing, and also education. Like eating disorders are a mental health issue. And you also
Yes.
mentioned, men with eating disorders, if you come out of the closet with an eating disorder, people can perceive you as either being gay, which there's nothing wrong with that, or being weak. So I definitely agree that, the stereotype matches the middle to upper class white woman that struggles with anorexia, and
Right,
that's
right.
just a farce. It's not true. It's not eating disorders don't discriminate. They don't care about your sexual orientation, your gender, your age, your religion, your socioeconomic background. It doesn't matter. So those are all good points. Yeah.
Right, right. And also, as like a small, quick anecdote, there was an instant where, a woman had used my bathroom, and at the time I had a scale in there, and I literally verbatim said, I thought only women kept scales in their apartments, or the bathrooms rather, and it was shocking.
Yeah.
Um,
I oftentimes, when I first started doing this, started, sharing my story, I've asked a bunch of women and men. I said, so when you see a woman looking in the mirror and checking herself out, what is she doing? And the response is always, oh, she's making sure that her hair looks good, her makeup is good, she's making sure she looks good. And then when I said, so when you see a male looking in the mirror, what do you think he's looking in the mirror for? And they're like, oh, he's vain, he's just checking himself out. I'm like, I don't think that that's necessarily the case. I think that we're actually similar in a lot of ways. Um, okay, so next question. What do you wish more boys and men who struggle with body image and eating disorders knew?
I wish that men and boys with eating disorders knew that it is perfectly acceptable to have them and to seek help because there is help out there. You don't need to suffer in silence. And I think about this in the greater mental health sphere in general. But yeah, it's there's no shame, there's no weakness, and it's not like you had said a specific issue to any one type of person. We are all susceptible to these things. And when I was, talking to people on the film festival circuit, every single festival there was a man who said, I have struggled with this.
Yep, I can relate to that. So then here's something that I found interesting about the film, and like I related to it a lot, to be honest. But you had a girlfriend in the film, and you struggled with like kind of like it seemed like an intimate relationship. So I'm curious how your eating disorder has affected your dating life, your relationships, romantic.
Sure. So because I had so much time where this was a significant part of my life. I've had several relationships where it's come up where, the sort of behaviors that like I hide in the film or try to hide in the film, if you spend so much time with somebody, you notice these behaviors with food, with exercise, everything. And, it would just become, reality testing, like, do I look like I gained weight? Do I like this or that? Or they see something and they're like, please stop. Like, what's wrong? And that would make me go further into myself because like there's a spotlight. I'm like, oh no, I'm fine. Like I'm sorry. It's just um, this, that, and the other thing. But there
I,
was
I mean,
mhm.
I found myself staying in really toxic, relationships and situations because the person I was with accepted my body. So, and then in my mind, I thought nobody else out there is going to accept my body. So I'm going
Oh,
to stay with this person. So, like, I know that a lot of people have struggled with that, for at least from talking to them. I don't know if that's something you've experienced.
I would say more so the sort of I don't know if I want to say opposite, but there was this trying to convince that like I like you as just as you are, and my brain is like looking for the lie. It's
Yeah,
just like I believe I could be better. There's always room for improvement. So then I, sort of didn't trust that because I didn't feel the love and self-worth within myself, which was something I had to slowly learn to get.
totally. So, in your opinion, how can healthcare professionals do a better job with identifying and treating eating disorders in boys and men?
That's a really great question. I think with mental health in general, a lot of it, has to come from self-reporting. So I think it's tricky. I
Hmm.
think somebody has to actively seek help in order to get like the right diagnosis, the right medication, the right treatment. Um, every time I've gone to a checkup, I don't think they've really asked me like about my relationship with food. Maybe um, it could ask not about like what's your diet per se, but like what is your nutrition, and they could sort of try and start the conversation that way. What is your exercise on a day-to-day or weekly basis? And the thing that I don't have a good answer for this, and I really wish I did. And the thing I have struggled with is that in media the representation of eating disorders is like emaciation, and like I don't present
Right.
as somebody who is um, noticeably underweight, and so it's hard for somebody to be like he has an eating disorder, but because I don't have the typical frame of somebody who has that, and
Well,
so
common misconception. Most people don't wear their eating disorders.
it's a really good way of putting it.
I, I think I think to your point, it's all about like asking the right questions. And I think if somebody asks you, like if I look back, if somebody asked me what my relationship with food was, I think it was normal because I I viewed it as normal. So I think it's
Because you viewed it. Oh man, yeah.
yeah.
Well, this is like a panel discussion.
Totally. It's a whole, another
um,
conversation. I think that we're about out of time though, which is so sad. But I think to leave everybody, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you and tell them a little bit about your film?
You Look Great right now is the name of the film. It's still currently on the film festival circuit, so it's not publicly available. I am intending to make it uh, available online sometime in the new year, I believe, because I think it will have a greater impact. That being said, it is a um, graphic and potentially triggering film, so if you do have interest in it, Please be aware of that. There is a trigger warning at the top of the film. So if you decide like this may be too explicit, you can, obviously opt out of viewing. And my name is Justin Andrew Davis. You can find me at Justin Andrew D on Instagram, Twitter, and justinandrewdavis.com.
Yeah, awesome. And I've seen the film and it's great. Definitely can be triggering, but I can relate to it a lot being a guy. So I appreciate you coming on here, sharing your story with the world. So yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you for having me, and I hope that we can maybe have a longer discussion about this at some point in the future.
Yeah, we need to tell NEDA we need like a 2-hour time block.
Minimum.